So conference this week is a continuation of looking at our joys and our sorrows from last week, the mixed beans in our hands that are always together. Be reading a piece from Kael Gibran, the prophet, on joys and sorrow. And I'll try to read that at the end of conference for those of you that are part of our extended family through our YouTube channel. But this week we've been looking at the compass again, which has been our theme for all the New Year's. We've been talking about how the compass represents our life is an adventure, and we're the hero and heroine of our adventure. And I asked you guys in that to think about this year taking risk and being brave, and our quotes about 20 seconds of insane bravery is part of your theme for this year, because every year I like to give you guys something in particular to focus on. And then with the Chinese New Year, we continued our theme with the compass, looking at the very first compass here on planet Earth was in China back in 2006 BC. And the first compass, you guys remember, was used for your internal navigation, right? And it wasn't until the 11th century, I'll just say that again, that it was used for external navigation on the planet and in the terrain and all that kind of good stuff, which continues to be part of our theme as well. And then we had the Chinese New Year, where we look at the archetype for the year and encourage all of you to embrace some aspects, some strong aspects of that archetype to work on this year. And all of it's kind of fitting together, which I didn't really plan it this way, but as fate would have it, or luck or serendipity, it's really turned out to be a nice combination. So this year is the year of the rooster. We've been talking about you guys embracing the qualities of that archetype of the rooster. So we're saying the rooster is very confident and struts around with his, chest big and his throat long. And the qualities of someone who's a rooster, we always say, is that they are very confident, very positive, a little bit cocky, a little bit thinks they're beautiful and really owns it. And I always say, like, the rooster thinks they're all that in a bag of chips, and really struts their stuff. And for all of us this year, it kind of fits into the theme, because I want you guys to think of owning those qualities and really stepping into your higher chakras. So the rooster represents the heart chakra and the throat chakra, and really living big, and being your biggest self, being your most powerful self. And also this being the love area for us, the heart chakra is where we're loving, and also this is a place for us where we take risks. So when we've been talking about that last week, when we love big, it's kind of the same scale as our sorrow, because as big as we love will be as big as sometimes it can be painful for us, right? So you have to be brave to love and to want to be fully yourself in that way. I kind of use the comparison of, loving big and being big and wide and open and strong, and not being like one of my favorite Winnie the Pooh characters, which is Piglet. As Piglet was always like, he wanted to be strong and he wanted to be brave, but he was always just a little bit afraid and scared of everything. So the year of the rooster, we're the opposite of that. We're really stepping into our bigness and our braveness. And in doing that, I want to give you guys a teaching that one of our students here, who is a geologist, Jay, has shared with me as we were going over some of the metaphors of using the compass. So I have Jay's compass. Actually, we've had this one on the altar. He's letting us borrow it. He's traveled all over the world with this compass to find his way on his adventures, and to also have great geological adventures and solve geological problems. And this is going to be for us and for all of you out there a little bit of a teaching. So I want you guys to take this on sort of as a beautiful metaphor, but also something for you to think about and use as a self-study. So a compass, as Jay was teaching me, is used for two things. I have my notes with me from Jay. What are the two things a compass is used for? So the first one, so Mary said, is to figure out where you are. But Jay said it in a geological way, which I love, and I want you guys to kind of hold this in the back of your head. He said it's a way to locate yourself. So we're going to kind of think about that a little bit later on. And then what's the second reason you would use a compass?
Figure out where you want to go.
Figure out where you want to go and how you're going to get there. So if I know that I want to go to Saddleback Mountain, okay, I know I want to go to Saddleback Mountain, but how am I going to get there? And this device is going to help me figure out how to get there. Well, the cool thing about a compass is this is a piece that's very much connected to nature because it is nature. The magnet itself, the magnetic field, is connected to nature like the sun or the moon or the tides or the ocean. So in the very center of it we have nature, and this compass actually then helps us connect with nature. So the first compass helped us connect to this nature, our own internal nature, right? And then the other compasses have helped us connect to the nature outside of us and where we are and how we locate ourselves and where we want to go in nature. So the way that we do that is always, there's one thing that you have to know about using a compass, because I got the full-on scoop on how to use a compass. But what's the first thing that anyone has to know, or what to do to use a compass? What do you have to do? You have to locate your north. So that's the number one thing you have to do. And in order to locate your north, has anyone used a compass before? You have to hold it in your hand very still, because if you guys could see me now holding the compass, the dial is jittery. It's always jittery. So you have to hold it, and while it's jittery, you have to steady your hand for quite a while. Actually, you can see it's still jittery right now, those of you who can see that high, until it calms down and it settles down and holds itself still. And you hold it until you find where the north is. Then once you find your north, there's this little button here that you press that holds its place on the north. Now this is a more modern compass, but some of the older ones had a little lever on the side that you would push. So you hold your north. Now once you have your north, I think compasses are beautiful, but I have to be honest, I didn't quite know what all the little things were for. But if you look at this cool piece that comes out of here, and there's a circle at the top, so I would find my Saddleback Mountain, right? And I hold my north, and then I would locate, again, where I am and where Saddleback Mountain is. And if I turn it a bit to the side, I can see with the numbers that it's maybe 30 degrees to the west or 25 degrees to the east, and that's how we start to find things with the compass. But some pieces that I want you guys, little takeaways from this, and I'll talk about this, something very personal for me that I hope relates for everyone, the story, is in this practice, you know, we talk about Vijnanamaya Kosha and going to our innermost core of ourself, which is our Atman, our soul. And I think another way for us to think about that is that that could be our true north. You know, for me, whenever I describe Vijnanamaya Kosha and yoga philosophy to people, I always say that for me, it's my internal yes. You know, and it's a very powerful part of me navigating my life. So in this metaphor for us, it's our north. It's our own personal, our true north. And the way that I can tap into my true north is just like this. I feel like the way that I do that is I have to hold myself very still. And I have to really sit for a little while with that, of holding myself still. And I'm jittery oftentimes like this, and I know that if I just hold myself still enough, as I do on my yoga mat, I do in my meditation, that I can tap into that very deep place, my true north, when I do that. And in that, I can, as I need to, sort of locate myself. Even as a yoga teacher, there are times where I just feel lost, you know, and it can be in little ways, or it can be in bigger ways. I just feel a little bit lost out there. And you need to kind of calm it down and just sit with that and find your north. And when you find your north, then we have this ability to kind of see those peaks, those saddlebacks, and decide like where it is that we want to go. So Jay was describing the valleys, and he drew this cute little picture I thought is kind of like the ways I draw pictures, but these are like the little mountains and then the little river that ran through, and this was the "you are here," which is, again, a beautiful analogy for where we are sometimes. And he was saying, you are in a valley. So when you're in a valley, you can't always see where you want to go. You can't even see, like, where your options are to go, because you're sort of in the thick of it. So using this analogy, I wanted to share with you guys that, you know, I shared something very personal with you the last couple weeks, sort of what's going on with me. And would honestly say right now that I felt like I was in a valley. You know, one of the valleys of my life, and probably for me a very significant valley. And over the last couple weeks, there's been a few times where I've stopped and I've said to Mom, or I've also said to Richard, I go, you know, I know I'm gonna get right with this thing, but I always know myself very well, and I know I'm not quite there yet. You know, I feel a little bit scattered, I feel a little bit lost in all this, but I know I'll get there, but I'm not there yet. And on Friday, it's my morning to sleep in, and I do my own little devotions on Friday. And Friday, I just had this really beautiful devotional time where I was thinking about my dharma, my path. And I had this really strong feeling on Friday morning, I'm like, I am so on my path. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. There's never a day where I doubt that I'm not supposed to be teaching yoga and with all of you and this Shala right across from the ocean and supposed to be with Richard, and just feel real strongly that this is my dharma. If I had to turn right or if I had to turn left, this is my path. But in that same devotional sort of personal puja I was having, I also had this strong sense of the power of choice. And that every day I wake up, and even though I know I'm on my dharmic path, I'm on my path, I know that every day I'm making choices on that path of how I want to be, who I want to be, how I want to show up. You know, like the rooster, and brave and strong, and with intention in my biggest way. And so I said to myself, I was thinking of my analogy with Jay, and I said, you know, the peaks that I'm looking for, the Saddleback Mountains right now in my life I'm looking for, I said, are, for me, I want to live an inspired life, and I want to live a life of passion, and I want to live a life of joy. That's really important to me. And I want to live a life that's filled with serendipity and synchronicity and some magic in it, right? So those are my peaks. I knew that. So a couple days passed, and Sunday morning I woke up early, which I don't do. I don't like to wake up unless I have to. But I woke up a little bit early by choice, and I made my favorite coffee, and I got in the car, and instead of coming here, I passed here and I went to the little park here where you can park right on the ocean, and the waves were breaking just so beautifully. The waves were really big that day. It was a shore break, and I put my favorite music in my ears, and I had my coffee, and I was looking at the ocean. And it was like this. It just got really still. And I just had this beautiful 10 minutes of really connecting with my true north, you know? And it was very powerful. And I left and I came to teach on Sunday, and I just felt so joyful and so strong and so right with the world, you know, right with everything. And so I share this example with you because this is what each of us have. This is what each of us have in our life, is this opportunity. Even today here in yoga, what we're going to do is we're just going to take this jittering pin, and for the next hour just try to calm it down, and on our mats find our north, you know. We get better and better and better at it, so we can actually find it whenever we need to, because it's always right here. So we'll finish this beautiful teaching today with one of my favorite pieces by Kal Gibran from the Prophet on joys and sorrow. When a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow," and he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else could it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that has given you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that has brought you delight. Some of you shall say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others will say, nay, sorrow is greater. But I say to you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and silver, needs must your joy, your sorrow rise or fall. Samastiti.